going on, everybody?
Evening, Dave.
Evening, Dave.
Glad you guys hopped in. Doing pretty well. It's been a hectic couple of weeks here.
Yeah, I've been kind of checked out ever since the first of the year. Just been crazy busy at work and off season, so kind of taking a little break.
That seems to be the case for everybody. Even if, my 9 to 5 is as crazy as it has been in a long time. So I am feeling that, splitting the duties with Gators Breakdown, and thankfully that was kind of on the hills and during the time of getting Billy Napier here on the podcast. So I hope you all enjoyed that. Of course, I know we've talked about it here in the chat a good bit, but we can talk about that. We've got some recent news here in front office news there for the Gators. Some staff moves we'll get into as well. Thus, they've been kind of busy, so didn't jump on late last week to talk about some of the staff changes that kind of happened there with of course Gators getting a new linebackers coach. So we'll get into all that. But the front office moves the Gators made here on this Monday. So who knows where we'll go? That will be where we'll start with the staff changes and additions here for the Gators, and we'll circle back around to that Napier interview if you guys want to. National Signing Day, of course, last week as well. So there's plenty of avenues we can go with this one. But I hope you all are doing well out there.
I think the most amazing thing about National Signing Day was that it happened, and I had no idea it was happening.
Yeah, boy, they took that early signing day, took that away from us, and it's kind of weird because there was always the early enrollees. Well, not always, but in the last 15, 20 years, you've had the early enrollees, and a lot of guys show up early in December. But the early signing day, once that become official, it's just killed February almost altogether now, and it's just not what it used to be. February used to be this national holiday for college football fans and in looking at your recruiting class. But now with signing day mostly taking part in that early signing day, and it is around, the now college football playoff and the bowl games and transfer portal and all, it just kind of, they took that away from us. It doesn't stand on its own day anymore like it used to. And a lot of people have said that, they wake up on signing day and it takes them a few hours to realize that it's signing day, whether you'll finally see somebody talk about it or, Florida will send out some graphic. And, oh, yeah, signing day is today. It is nowhere near what it used to be. And in this ever-changing world of college football, they took that away from us.
Yeah, and like you said, the schedule of college football has a big reason for that. I mean, with the playoffs going on, I'm like, bull. Like, I completely forgot about February signing day too until I saw something on Twitter. And even early signing day isn't a signing day anymore, isn't it? Now, like a signing week, it's kind of a period, 3 or 4 days that you have to do it. I mean, it's not really. It's just not the same as it used to be.
Right, and I mean, this is a signing period too. Just usually everybody signs on that February, but I think this one goes till like April. But usually everybody gets it over with as soon as they can anyway. So,
yeah, with the playoffs and the expanded season and just the general schedule of college football right now, it all happens one after the other all at the same time. It's kind of hard to keep up with it all.
Yeah, I mean, we all know you go to the recruiting channel and it's always hopping here on Gators Breakdown Plus, but it's the day itself of what it used to mean is just no longer there.
Yeah, I mean, I used to take off work for it. Every year it was, National Signing Day was a holiday. Like I would plan my schedule around it. Like, yeah, I'm going to take off this day, so make sure this is done. And now it's like I said, it's just another day.
Yeah, I would take off work too.
Yeah.
Just looking for those letters of intent to come in.
Yeah. I've told this story before. One of my favorite memories of it all is of course, that '06 class, but of course, that was Tebow, Harvin, Spikes. But a different reason, of course, the main reason was getting those guys. But and I've told this story before. That was when I was doing my internship with ESPNU up in Charlotte. So that was the first day they had ever done their kind of wall-to-wall coverage of National Signing Day. They don't even do that anymore. But that was, that was probably my biggest highlight of it, because one of Florida's best recruiting classes ever, but also getting to work it in that fashion there as an intern at ESPNU was really, really cool as well. So it used to be more. We used to have that ESPNU coverage all day long. We'd all turn it there like 8 o'clock in the morning, and they wouldn't sign off till like 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night. And those were the days. Let's get into let's come back to today and this Monday. Let's get into some front office talk here. Something I know that's kind of been just out there in the interviews and all that stuff. Well, we finally got a little bit of answers here. So welcome to the swamp, Nick Polk and Benjamin Elsner. And let's get some front office talk here. Polk will serve as the Associate Athletic Director / Football General Manager, while Elsner will be the program's Director of Football Strategy. In the press release from Florida, the University of Florida football program announces the additions of Nick Polk and Benjamin Elsner to the program's front office on Monday. Polk will serve as the Associate Athletic Director / Football General Manager, while Elsner was named the team's Director of Football Strategy. Polk will oversee the front office for the Gators and be responsible for revenue share and NIL allocation, student-athlete contract negotiations, football budgets, roster management, and work with football personnel. Elsner will assist Polk with management of the salary cap and contracts, but will also lead the program's efforts in analytics and AI for all parts of the organization. Quote, "We are excited about moving forward with building out the front office concept with the addition of Nick Polk," head coach Billy Napier said. "His leadership and experience will prove to be extremely valuable to the entire organization. Nick has a college football coaching background as well as extensive NFL experience to go along with representing a number of clients that are in college football and the NFL. This is a huge step forward for the Gators." Polk comes to Gainesville with a tremendous amount of experience, says the press release, including serving 17 seasons with the Atlanta Falcons as Director of Football Administration and Director of Football Operations. Polk's duties with the Falcons included salary cap management, including draft negotiations, contract proposals, player contracts, coaches' contracts, cross-check scouting assignments on both college and the NFL side, trades and trade value analysis, CBA compliance, football budgets, league liaison, and daily cap monitoring and strategy. He does say, "I am honored and privileged to have this incredible opportunity to be named Associate Athletic Director / Football General Manager for the Florida Gators. I'd like to give a special thank you to Scott Strickland and Coach Napier for their trust in my abilities to take on this new role. Every successful program has alignment with its leadership, and it was evident throughout this process that this is the case here. I'm excited to work daily with this football program's great administrators, coaches, players, and staff to build a championship program." For his first 2 years with Atlanta, Polk oversaw the Georgia Force Arena Football League, which each spring serving as the Senior Director of Football Operations, handling all aspects of the club's roster management, operations, and financial management. During his time with the Falcons, the team played in 11 playoff games, advancing to the NFC Championship game on 3 occasions and making it to the Super Bowl in 2017. We all remember that choke job. Prior to arriving in Atlanta, Polk served 5 seasons in the NFL league offices from 2000 to 2004. For 3 seasons, he was the NFL Europe Director of Football Administration and was the NFL Europe Senior Director of Football Operations for 2 of those years. So following this time with the Falcons, Polk worked at Athletes First, where he served as an advisor, contract negotiator, search firm relations, and professional development with players and coaches. Polk also brings 13 seasons of college coaching experience to Gainesville, including 4 years as the head coach at the Lock Haven University. He also was a member of coaching staffs at Delaware State, Brown, James Madison, and Southern Connecticut State. Now let's go to Benjamin Elsner. Elsner comes to the Gators after serving most recently as chief of staff of the 33rd team, a football analysis platform that provides in-depth insights on NFL teams and players for nearly 5 years. Quote, Ben Elsner is one of the bright up-and-comers in our profession and has unique, valuable experience in his early career, Napier said. He will be working alongside with Nick in the salary cap and contract space. He will also help us use analytics and AI to evaluate all the data relative to strategy throughout the organization. He will be working closely with me to make sure we are continuing to evolve and are using the best practices throughout all of our program at all levels. In that role, he was responsible for various tasks within the startup think tank. Elsner worked closely over the past 2 years with former executives and team presidents, gaining insight on successful, sustainable, and efficient team building philosophies. Prior to this position, Benjamin gained experience working with former head coaches and general managers as a head scout, evaluating both NFL and college football players. He goes on to say, quote, I am honored and excited to join the Florida Gators as the director of football strategy. I want to thank Coach Napier for his role in me, for believing in me for this role, along with those at the 33rd team who allowed me to grow and learn over these past 5 years. Throughout this process, I've been immensely impressed by the vision Coach Napier has set for the program and the alignment of the staff. Now, I'm excited to work with the coaches, players, and staff to build a sustainable championship caliber program on and off the field. So there we go. A lot of info on Nick Polk and Benjamin Elsner. Reading that press release and I guess the foresight on somebody like Benjamin Elsner, with the AI side of all this and all the different angles, I think that kind of caught me. Maybe being on the forefront of these type of things, maybe that's what they're seeing here, and all the analytics that come into play in this sport. But you got two guys here who some professional experience working with professionals at the NFL level, and I think a lot there to be said. But hey, look, this is college football now. We have no idea how all this is going to work in college football. I think they're obviously still trying to figure it out. Napier, Strickland, the UAA, and all these new hires. So they got their work cut out for them. But you seemed like some unique and a lot of experience here in these two hires.
Yeah, I mean, they sound good on paper.
Yeah.
What was Polk's position before he came here after the Falcons? What did he do with that?
He was, let me get back to it. I looked it up earlier today, so I thought I'd have it on top of my mind, but let's go. Well, there's a lot of text there. I have to try and find it here. Well, I can't find it.
That's all right.
I'll find it in just a second. I was just trying not to be so silent here on the chat, but here it is. Following his time at the Falcons, Polk worked with Athletes First. That's the company name, where he served as an advisor, contract negotiator, search firm relations, and professional development with players and coaches.
That kind of sounds like an agent.
It does. And like I said, probably a good thing. I mean, I think there's some unique roles here, and also figuring out what, how these roles should work in college football that's different than the NFL. Well, of course, we know there's so much more on the plate. It's not as cut and dry as it is in the NFL. Maybe it will get that way one day, but right now there's still a lot to balance. And I think another angle to this is, initially when these front office roles were discussed, they were discussed that there might be 3 main roles. So we got 2 here. Not sure, what's going to happen with this third one. I know Jim Nagy's name from the Senior Bowl has been, out there the most. The executive director of the Senior Bowl. So we'll see if anything comes from that, or is Jacob LaFrance on more of the. He has that general manager title right now for the Gators. So and Napier said either. I think he said in his press conference last week on National Signing Day that hires would come. Speaking multiple here, making it sound like more than just 2 when he was talking about the whole operation here for the front office. So I think we'll see, but I think I think the question now is does this hire of Polk mean anything about Nagy? And Nagy to me is kind of a lot more on the personnel side of it in scouting and the like. So I don't know if it affects it. If Polk's the guy, is Nagy not the guy, or is he going to be one of the 3? If it's still 3, I think there's a lot that I still think can happen here. Kind of going back to the conversation when this front office stuff started.
With revenue sharing, can't the university basically sign players to contracts like the NFL? I know it's not completely the same, and I don't know how the scholarships and stuff like that comes in and becomes a factor, and that's out of my league. But what I was envisioning is with revenue sharing, being able to play the players directly. Wouldn't that would that allow the school to sign them to 2 or 3 year contracts and keep them from transferring? And the tampering and all that would kind of maybe help kind of corral all that part of the game of the world of football.
Maybe, but I don't know how that works without getting more into the NFL side of things without collective bargaining.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just curious. I'm curious how if revenue sharing and all this, trying to operate, turn everything to more like an NFL structured, organization. Although it won't ever be just like it, just because it's a college first NFL. But I'm just kind of hoping maybe that would.
I think it's the first step.
Yeah, I mean the transfer portal. Its intentions were good, but it is just a mess right now, and I'd kind of like to see that maybe fixed a little bit.
Yeah, because I mean, in college football, it's always going to be different because even if we go back to the way it used to be, it's still going to be different than the NFL because your roster changes so much, even more so now because of the transfer portal. But even without the transfer portal, good players are going in 3 years. You have somebody maybe 4 years, 5 years max, the way it used to be. So there's still a lot more roster fluctuation than there ever was in the NFL just because of that. Like you're not hanging on to a quarterback. If you get a good quarterback, all right, he's going in 3 years. In the NFL, you get a good quarterback, he's playing for you for 10, 12 years. You don't get to lock him down that long. So that's college football has always been different in that vein. So I think it's certainly interesting to see how this all plays out. But I think we all want to, and we know coaches want it too, but even as fans want to know who we can cheer for, who we want to, who's going to be on our team. And now that you can buy jerseys with players' names on it, I mean, it's weird now. We always made the jokes in the NFL, but it's even worse in college now. If you're going to go buy a Trevor Etienne jersey, all right, and you buy that in late November while he's playing for the Gators, and just a few weeks later, all right, he's transferring to Georgia. I mean, so
yeah, there's no way I would ever go spend the money, especially on the prices of those jerseys
right.
on a player when I know they're 6 weeks down the road he could be playing for another team.
Yeah, I mean, it is insane the way that it just how fast it all moves now. But the whole analytics and AI thing that's interests me with Elsner's role and how that comes up. Working with NFL teams for nearly 5 years, it says so. And then just
We get
years.
AI to call plays for us.
and then just the years of experience, Nick Polk brings and working with the Falcons for that long. And I know there was a lot of blame for him of the Falcons getting in contract trouble and all that and how it's situated. And, I shared a story in here earlier where a lot of people were not putting the blame on him. There was a lot more going to it. So, but I mean, look, he's with the Falcons for that long. He's clearly doing something good. Now I know the Falcons aren't necessarily the NFL program you would circle for things always going right or anything, but it have been much better. And I don't know if talent was ever really the issue in Atlanta. So. But this new world of college football, there we go. I mean, one thing I don't really look forward to this, and one reason I kind of hope it's, we get like a little formula for all this and how it turns out. The thing that bores me the most about the NFL was contract talk on podcasts, contract talk on sports radio. Man, I hope we don't have to follow it that close here in college football. Let's get to some staff changes from late last week. Didn't get around to it, so I'll get around to it now. Florida is supposed to be adding, haven't got the official announcement like we got for the front office roles. But Florida's supposed to be adding Washington Huskies linebacker coach Robert Bala to its coaching staff. That was put out there first by Matt Zenitz of 24/7 Sports. He will oversee the Gators' inside linebacker room and also the new co-defensive coordinator, another co-defensive coordinator here in Gainesville. So looks like he's going to replace Ron Roberts as linebackers coach, freeing him up to call plays as the executive head coach. And kind of Napier going back to that, his quote last week, we potentially could hire another coach on defense and let Ron kind of walk around, much like we did the last 2/3 of the year, Billy Napier said. So I think that's kind of when we started making progress. So, hey, look, if there's one thing a lot of people have asked is, hey, what changed so much in that defense last year? Where Billy Napier tells us one thing right there. Ron Roberts getting a little more time to walk around the defense, oversee the defense instead of being so locked into one position. So I went back and looked at Bala at Washington last year on PFF. He coached up Huskies linebacker Carson Bruner to the second highest PFF grade on the defense of guys who played enough football for it actually to matter. He had a solid grade at 81.2. Overall, as we talked about with Sunseri a couple of weeks ago, the rush defense was terrible, but he brought in a 72.4 grade there and then a really good 76.4 tackle grade. And outstanding in coverage with an 85.3 grade. He had 78 total tackles on the year. So Carson Bruner there being coached up by Bala there at Washington last year. But before Washington, of course, Bala was the inside linebacker coach at Alabama, coach standout player like Deontay Lawson, finished second on the team that year with 67 tackles, missing 3 games due to injury. Jihad Campbell, Tresman Marshall split time at the other inside linebacker spot, combined to make 122 tackles in that 2023 season for Alabama. And I know it was out there, and this is what caught a lot of people's eye out there. It was said that Bala mentored Crimson Tide linebacker Dallas Turner, but he was also kind of used as that edge player, consensus All-American, first-team All-SEC selection, led Alabama with 14.5 tackles for loss and 10 sacks. But Coleman Hutzler was the outside linebacker coach for Alabama and had a lot to do with Turner. So, I don't know exactly how much Bala had the coach up of Dallas Turner. So only been coaching since 2009, but he's he's been coaching since 2009. Only spent the last 2 seasons with the Power Fair program. Most recently with Washington, of course, and then Alabama's linebacker coach in 2023. Now, guys, we've got to make the connection here. The reason he got the inside linebackers coaching job in 2023 for Alabama was because Austin Armstrong left to come to Florida. So there's your little connection right there that maybe got overlooked. But an interesting angle to that one. His first FBS job came in 2022 with the Liberty Flames as an analyst in its first year as an independent D1 program. He frees there. Then he joins Nick Saban's staff the next year in 2023. Was not retained last season by Kalen DeBoer. So now, I mean, if I'm coming to Florida, I'm pretty excited because I look at that linebacker room. I'll walk into that room and I get to see a Pup Howard. I get to see a Jaden Robinson, a Miles Graham, and an Aaron Childs in his first season on the job in a group that I don't know, that position itself had been slammed, rightfully so, the last 2 years for poor play. Got a little bit better, but then really took a jump this past season. Shamar James in that past season as well with this group. He's on the way out, but you still got Howard, Robinson, Graham, and Childs. That's going to be, the heavy contributors for that group. So if I'm Bala, I'll walk into that room and I think I'm smiling ear to ear on that one. You guys are quiet tonight.
You've said it all, Dave.
We're about 4 months from me being able to even talk or care about football at the moment.
But you're in here anyway, Chach.
Yeah, first chat in a while. I don't think I was in the last one.
I think with all these coaches, I'm in a wait and see position. Everybody has these great resumes, and then we'll see.
So far, it's been the underrated guys who have turned out better. The Spencer and the Raymonds of the world came in and didn't live up to the reputations. And, I think, Chapman and Harris came in last year. And by the time the end of the year, had really improved their position groups.
What do you think about with the new rule where there's like unlimited amount of coaches? Do you see that possibly causing any sort of confusion on the field with so many position coaches? I mean, how are they going to? I could see a little bit of chaos. Just I don't know, just trying to get everybody organized on the sidelines with so many. If the sidelines are that crowded,
yeah.
Like
To
who's
me,
in charge of what position? Where do you go? I mean, it's just I could see some chaos for it at least until they get a good system in place.
I don't know because I think it had been kind of happening anyway.
And that's probably true.
A whole lot, especially on the practice field. Napier joked about it, I think, when he was here in Jacksonville for his spring speaking tour. And I think that rule had just come down. And he was kind of joking about it happening anyway. So I don't think much really changes. Now, maybe on game day it's a little different, as you said. But as far as the practice setting goes, it's kind of the same old. It's just now you can legally do it.
Yeah, I was just worried more on game day where there's actually you have time limits and you need everybody to be on the same page. And we've seen in the past where game management sometimes isn't a strong point for the staff or has been in certain games. So
well, maybe this helps then.
Yeah, it could. Yeah, I could also see it going the other way and being more confusing. Just adding. I don't know. I mean, I'm hoping not. And like you said, it's probably been going on anyway, so it's probably not a big change.
Yeah, and kind of on that note, I know it come out as well over the weekend on Sunday. Bayal Rasul, DB analyst, is going to the Raiders. So Florida taking a hit there in the defensive backfield. I mean, really good pairing there with Will Harris on the recruiting trail. I think that's certainly where he certainly will be missed. But really highly thought of there in that staff room. What do you guys think of the Napier interview? First chat we've had since then. Hope you guys all enjoyed it. Y'all were a big part of why it got done.
I thought it went pretty well. I thought he was also pretty cordial to you. Like there was some mutual respect there.
Yeah, I felt that too. Certainly felt comfortable around the head coach, having him on the podcast. And of course, I've had little interactions with him throughout the year since he's been here, but of course, nothing like that. And as I said, he's had the spring speaking tours, and I'll insert my way to have a big role when he's here locally in Jacksonville, and of course, some of the press conferences as well. Especially every Wednesday for the SEC teleconference. But yes, certainly a whole lot different. Getting a whole 30 minutes with the head coach on here, and like I said, big thanks to you guys. I think for all the trust you've shown Gators Breakdown. I think it just kind of bled over into things like that. So, but yeah, I thought it went pretty well. I think some of the big takeaways there. Really believed from his viewpoint, really believed that late season stretch showed that teams in the right direction, the confidence and belief in their approach. You're more familiar now with what it takes and what it's required to win. I think that was a big takeaway for me. And like he said, every year is new. But now I think if it's kind of, you got to take the perfect blend of learning everything you learned from last year, but it's a new season this year. But now you do know what it takes. You know what is required to win by what happened on that last month of the season. New year, new team. Got to find a way to keep that momentum up.
Did you ever consider asking him to re-record the initial snippet to Gators Breakdown?
I wanted to fit in as much as I could in 30 minutes. I recorded it at 9:30 in the morning on that Friday morning, and I was told he has a hard out at 10 o'clock. So I was making it more beneficial for you guys than it was me. But I really hope you guys enjoyed it. I mean, I enjoyed having him on here and being able to bring that. It's certainly a different setting than a press conference. Maybe some of the questions he would have got at a press conference. Of course, he talked about all the, ad nauseum for the last few weeks of all the OC talk and play caller talk, primary play caller and all that. If he would hire anybody, not hire anybody. Of course, talked about a whole lot. Had to ask him about it on the podcast, but certainly a little bit different setting, of course. So hopefully it felt different, not so static and mundane.
Yeah, it did. It felt more genuine, not like you said, not like you just going through on National Media Day and answering the same question 10,000 times. He sounds sincere, and like I said, I hope it all goes the right way. I mean, we all know it. We all think, everybody, I'm sure, thinks he's a really great guy. It's just, let's get the rest of it going. And it's showing signs. We're seeing improvement on the field and the recruiting. I mean, it's maybe not quite where we want it yet, but at least it's headed that way, or at least we hope it is.
Right. I hear some aluminum bats in the background.
Yeah, I'm softball practice and chatting to y'all.
Yeah. That's how you do it. Multitasking.
That's right.
We got to hear a little bit of that ping. That's softball. This past weekend, baseball is coming up weekend.
Yeah, who's ready for some Gator baseball?
Basketball team going all crazy. I mean, it's gonna be fun this spring.
Yeah, I thought we'd be good this year in basketball. Didn't think we'd be this good.
That's a good point, Bull. I mean, yeah, you're right. I think a lot of people were feeling better about where this program is heading for basketball, and you knew you liked the pieces. You had to wonder how they'd all fit together. But man, yeah, it's that team when they are on. I mean, I know that's for every team, of course. When they're on, and it's a lot of fun to watch. But it's It seems like it's something new, every game when they play well like they did like that. Going to the Tennessee game and the Georgia game and Texas game and then against Auburn. It's just they find ways to, I think, keep surprising you.
They were exceptional to do what they did without arguably their best player available. Well, no, I shouldn't say that. Clayton's their best player, but
no, I know what you're saying. I said that the other day too about Martin. I don't think he's their best player, but when he plays his best, I think the team is at its best.
It's an interesting statistic thrown out by a Florida Basketball Hour and those guys who really know their stuff. There's the plus minus of the players of starters and bench guys. The one guy who has a negative is Elijah Martin, -7 when he's on the floor, which blows me away because his defense and his physicality, his toughness is so good. But I guess, it's numbers can't tell you everything.
Yeah.
Because his defensive numbers are off the charts. One of the best, I think top 2 in the nation. So it's just bizarre. But him not playing, they'll say that it may have gone into the Gators looking better on the offensive end than they have if he had been on the court. And because all the guys upped their game and did play with that kind of intense defense, it worked out.
Yeah, I mean, Clayton missed the game against Vanderbilt. Martin misses the game against Auburn. Win those 2 games. Urban comes from nowhere and starts hitting threes. I mean, that's if they get him and figure that out heading into the home stretch here in SEC tournament, and he's going to need a couple more of those performances. I think we all know that for this team to make that long run in the SEC tournament and win a couple of games. It may, and hopefully even more come March Madness.
Oh yeah, if we can take Alabama. And we play Texas A&M this year, right?
Yes, because that's next Tuesday. Wait, is it? Okay, what day is that?
Well, if we can take those 2 games, I think people are talking about Florida as a 1 seed. That's something.
Let's see. Let's look at that schedule.
I mean, rightfully so. We take care of business. I mean, even if we lose Alabama, we win out. Do what we should do in the SEC tournament. I don't see why we should be in consideration for 1 seed.
Yeah, Mississippi State, South Carolina, and then Oklahoma. My bad. I got Oklahoma mixed up with Texas A&M. Texas A&M is March 1st. So Texas A&M and Bama back to back. But I should be going to the game against Oklahoma next Tuesday.
That should be a W.
Yeah, they started out hot, and then once conference play started, it's kind of sizzled down, simmered down. Anything recruiting? Going back to signing day last week. Conan Benny flips from Tennessee to Florida. He's the second DB to do that to Tennessee late. Of course, Lagonza Hayward, the safety, did that to Tennessee right before early signing day. So that helped the Gators right there. So hurting Tennessee at the same time, helping Florida. Of course, Hilton Drake Stubbs, Ben Hanks there in the defensive backfield as well. Hard not to like and really pinpoint that defensive back class there for Florida. And, of course, class maybe even headlined by the 2 receivers, Dallas Wilson and Verdell Brown. I mean, your top 5 players in the class. And this is what I like about it. I was asked this last week on the Bill King show of, signing day and talking about the class. The top of Florida's class, look, you expect a lot. You expect in some years some of those guys to be instant impact anyway, but maybe even more so this year because those are position groups, wide receiver and defensive back, where Florida can really use some help in this coming up season. So I think you have to look at the top of the class, not because those guys are highly rated, but because those guys are highly rated at positions of need.
Yeah, Billy Gonzalez comes through again. We cannot complain about his wide receiver hauls or his judgment when he in the transfer portal.
Boy, the thing I do want to see from him now is, these high school guys he has recruited. This is the year we got to see that development pay off. Because it's been really relying on Pearsall and DK and Badger, really so much more than the high school recruited guys. And we had the Trey Wilson, of course, at his freshman year. So, but that's really, since he came back to Florida, as far as the recruited guy goes, Trey Wilson in his freshman season, but it's been, heavy reliance on the portal guys.
So you're saying we need other guys to coach him up first?
I hope not. I hope not. I'm not, put it this way, I'm not ready to say that yet. I'm like, I'm okay to let's see where it goes. This year. I mean, I'm not pulling those guys off the field either. Those guys were really good. So, but this is the year where you're only brought in J. Michael Sturdivant through the transfer portal. So this is the year that we need to see it, and it's probably the year we're supposed to see it, because you don't have many. You don't have it unless they go get another one in the spring transfer portal window. The receiver group is going to be your guys now. You don't have, you're not bringing in more transfers to take the reps from those guys.
Well, he was the wide receiver coach for Percy Harvin, Lewis Murphy, and David Nelson, right?
And Riley Cooper. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. He sure was.
They turned out all right.
They did. They did. So that's why I go with, I'm not ready to say, he doesn't have, he won't have those high school guys ready, but it is time for Aiden Mizell to take that step. Trey Wilson to bounce back. I think you start there.
Mizell showed signs.
Yeah.
When he wasn't hurt last year. I mean, but he also, it seemed to me like he kind of played the same position as Trey Wilson does. So, I mean, we still need somebody to take over that Badger or that DK role, somebody, an outside threat. So maybe Sturgevant, maybe he's that guy, but
yeah. That was what Napier said, when I did have him, and he just singled out Sturtevant for that.
Yeah, he did mention him for that role. You're right. He did say that. I just was.
But Mizell too, we saw it at the Georgia game.
Yeah, he did. You're right. It seemed like Mizell played more when Trey Wilson was hurt, and he was playing a lot of slot. At least it seemed that way. I may be mistaken and just not remembering correctly, but it felt like he played a lot more slot when he was on the field.
Let's see.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm going
to see if I can find that. I don't know if Pro Football Focus, I'm trying to remember if they do that. I know a lot of that, you can get detailed a lot about that.
I don't mean to change the subject, but
go ahead.
One question I had about Trey last year, and I'm not one of those people who wants to read emotions of players on the sideline, because I know I'm not qualified to do it. But do you think there was a psychological component to some of his, unavailability, not being used as much as he was? You think there was maybe attitude?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I certainly can see that. He wasn't being used down the field a whole lot.
Didn't seem like he was being used much at all. In games when like, oh, he's available one time on the field, maybe, or I shouldn't say that. He's on the field maybe as a distraction because he's never targeted.
I was trying to see. If Pro Football Focus had. Oh, here we go. All right. Yeah. I think I found it. For Aiden Mizell and where he lined up. So he had 76 snaps out wide and 57 in the slot. So there you go.
Okay, so more out wide, but still quite a bit in the slot. He
Yeah.
played both, but
Yep.
it's good to know he can do both.
Yeah, right. Against Georgia, he had 15 in the slot, 9 out wide. Against Texas, 9 in the slot, 2 out wide. And then against LSU, 9 in the slot, 13 out wide. Mississippi State was, of course, where he played the most. He had 11 in the slot, 10 out wide. So, yeah, they move him around. Which,
That's
I think,
good.
I think we had come to that summary. But, yeah, you're right. It was good to – it was 56.7% wide and 42.5 in the slot. So with Trey back,
Yeah, I really.
would assume just more snaps outside. I mean, I would assume, rolling into spring practice, you're starting 3 or Sturdivant, Mizell, and Wilson.
Yeah, I mean that sounds like it should be to me.
Yeah. And then, like I said,
And
now you got these other guys.
Everyone pans out. Yeah, if everybody, like you said, Mizell lives up, and that's a solid wide receiver core. If everything works the way it's supposed to.
Yeah, and then Abrams and Hawkins, and it's time to see those guys. And like I said, Wilson and Brown, those guys were highly recruited, highly rated. So, I think, you look at the top of the 2025 class, and I think you got a lot of potential in seeing some young guys play because of those positions. I mean, I won't be surprised if Stubbs and Hayward are getting some snaps at safety and Hanks is getting some snaps, especially corner, because of all the injuries Florida's going to be dealing with going into spring practice. And if he takes advantage of all those reps, he might be just hard to keep off the field.
I'm looking.
Yeah, I would see it. I would see it more on defense than young guys playing than I would at wide receiver. Gonzalez just don't like playing them young guys sometimes.
I'm looking forward to one of those young guys looking like Jeremiah Smith at the spring game.
I thought he was transferring to us.
Any day now.
Any day now. Yeah, it'd be nice to have just dominant force there. And Dallas Wilson thankfully gets in, of course. I know we were sweating that one for a little bit, but gets in. We'll be, there in the spring. So getting those reps and eager to see how it all plays out.
Dave, you remember how bad it used to be with regard to getting kids in? Like every signing day, there'd be 1 or 2 kids.
Yeah.
Just we're biting our fingers for 5 weeks. Is he going to make it? Is he not going to make it?
And I don't want to not look at Nashawn Montgomery as well. A lot of people putting that underrated tab on him. Certainly making waves in the All-Star game.
Y'all got PTSD from RJ Henderson.
Oh, yep.
I was surprised he didn't get played for Mullen at UNLV.
Oh, good point. He's saying, I don't even think he's playing anymore, is he?
No, he's rapping.
Oh, okay.
Well, there you go.
What I was told anyway.
Yep.
Is it petty of me to not want Dan Mullen to do well at UNLV? Thing is,
I was thinking the same thing.
Doesn't bother me at all.
I think he will do well just because, in
Yeah.
truth, he is a really good play caller. It's
As long as he doesn't, I'm sorry, as long as he doesn't recruit well over there, I'll be okay with it.
I feel like he is going to kill it at UNLV.
I can see it.
I kept saying he should have held out or whatever, went to Liberty if Chadwell left. That would be the perfect setup for Mullen because all they want to do is just score a bunch of points and win games you're supposed to win. So it's like they also have a pile of money for recruiting where he doesn't necessarily have to do a lot. They're going to get these like troubled players over there.
I don't know if they have it or not because the conference isn't that big enough. But if they have a conference teleconference, let's see if I can get a phone number and ask him about recruiting like the last week of October and see what he says.
That'd be the greatest thing ever. This is
I
Dave
figured
Waters.
Mullen probably got like a Chip Kelly deal in his contract where he doesn't have to do press conferences or something.
This is David Waters from Gators Breakdown. I have a question for you, Coach. Hello?
Just never live it down.
What would you ask him? You say, "Excuse me, Coach, from UNLV perspective, when does recruiting season begin?"
I know we feel good about this, but I mean, now with signing day coming and going, Florida does cement itself as a top 10 class. So I think it was still 5th in the conference, I believe. But I mean, we can sit here and say 5th in the conference. I mean, you're splitting hairs after Texas and Georgia and Alabama.
Listen, I give the man his due. From the 50s to number 7.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
What was it this year that changed where he decided to finally invest in high school recruiting and go out and sign more than 19 kids?
I think that late
About
season
getting fired.
Yeah, not getting fired. Yeah, that late season stretch. Like I even think it may have caught them by surprise a bit, like how much and how many guys they got interested again. And I don't think it hurt that FSU had a terrible season. Miami faltered down the stretch. I think it was a perfect storm of things, honestly.
Well, I guess better late than never.
Yeah. I mean,
No, it is good to see.
Yeah, Auburn was one spot ahead of Florida in the SEC rankings with a 286 score. Florida's 283. And so, like I said, minuscule. A&M 282, LSU 281. So, kind of just grouped together 4 schools from 4 to 7: Auburn, Florida, Texas A&M, LSU.
Yeah, it's like you said. I mean, it Georgia, Texas,
yeah,
and maybe Bama third, and then everybody else. I mean, LSU is probably, I don't know. I mean, Bama and LSU could be battling for that third spot, third best team. I mean, just looking at it right now. But then it's crapshoot for everybody else. A&M, us. I mean, and we could be in there. Who's quarterbacking for Bama next year? I mean, they may not be
Elon Russell.
Probably, but I mean, they may not be. I mean, if DeBoer's a good coach, they probably have a good season. I don't know. They're just kind of a mystery to me. But LSU, we kind of know what they have. I mean, they've gotten
they had
a few more players in the transfer portal.
Right. Yep.
But just like us, they should be better with experience. I mean, we're banking on us being better with experience, and they should have the same expectations.
I mean,
so that game really scares me next year. I'm going to LSU. But I mean, it's no different than any other game going to LSU at night.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you look at it now, of course, it adds up week after week, game after game. But Florida's not losing. But to say it plays out the way you expect it to kind of play out. If Florida loses to Texas, okay, you could say, okay, you'll chalk that up to talent. If Florida loses to Georgia, you'll chalk that up to talent. I'm not going to blame talent a whole lot for, Florida loses more games to the other opponents. Florida's not losing to Texas A&M because of a talent advantage, or LSU because of a talent advantage.
Yeah, to me, those should be the only 2 games we lose and then it's not that cut and dry. It's not that simple, but
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I mean, because we still do go. We got a lot of road games, and
Mhm.
we haven't really talked about it, but I think this schedule, this coming up year, maybe more difficult than last year's was. I mean, just because of the places, the road games we have, the way the schedule lines up, playing the teams when we do, it just. I mean,
Yeah.
it's gonna be tough.
Yeah, it is weird. You flip Tennessee, so that one comes out in your favor. You do go to Ole Miss, but a lot of changes there. I mean, Florida's playing some teams with some quarterback changes, so could be better for some teams. Could be, you hope, worse for some teams. You hope Miami's worse. You hope Georgia's worse. You hope Texas is worse.
I don't think LSU is going to be very good, personally.
I think they'll
Not to
probably
say-
be about like they were this year. I mean, I think Texas may be
yeah.
better with Manning. I'm not really sure about that yet because it's still kind of unknown. Yeah, I mean, I'm not expecting Texas first to beat Texas, just like you said, talent. But I mean,
I kind of think Tennessee is going to be bad.
yeah, I'm not sure about them either. I don't think they'll be all that good.
If Nico doesn't take
Towards the end of
if
Go
Nico
ahead.
doesn't take a step and they don't have that running game, like that offense is
Mannings
going.
are 1-4 against the Gators.
But yeah, Tennessee
I feel like,
could be bad if Nico doesn't take a step and they can't replace Samuel in that run game.
I think my opinion about Tennessee is that Josh Heupel, towards the end of last season, his defense figured out both Nico and that Heupel offense. It's just it reminds me, it's like an inverted Gus Malzahn offense. Instead of being such a gimmicky run offense, it's a gimmicky pass offense. Where once you kind of figure it out, he has no way to coach around it.
His thing is tempo, and if you get him off his tempo, their offense is just flat. I mean, it falls off. And I didn't see anything from Nico to show me that he's a 5-star. I mean,
his offenses have only had one good game against Florida, and that was Napier's first year.
Yeah, and even then, he about lost.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not. Tennessee doesn't really scare me. Like you said, Heupel, I don't really believe he's that good. I mean, we'll see.
Any underrated guy? Any underrated guys in the class? Before we
besides Nashon.
Yeah, we did kind of mention him already, right? Yep.
Shit, I gotta look at the class.
I
don't even remember.
Heck, it might be the most recent guy. It might be Onus, honestly. I mean, I'm telling you, like there are a lot of staffs. Tennessee was one of them, but and I already knew this before I went and found the quotes from his high school coach about staffs telling them that they think he's underrated. But that's one there that he might be the most underrated guy in the class.
I mean, he's rated high, but nobody ever talks about Waltez Clark. He's kind of the forgotten guy because he's been committed for so long.
Yeah.
I don't know. We had a solid class. There's not like any just egregious takes, in my opinion.
So no one's going to pick Hayden Craig as the most underrated guy?
I almost did just because he's at the bottom of the list on 247, but I couldn't tell you if he's underrated or not. It's like looking at kickers and punters. It's like every one of them looks good in high school.
I mean,
in a Billy Napier offense, the punter's important.
I mean, there's even that one site, there's that's dedicated to just kickers and punters. They give their own star ranking and everything. I forget the name of the site, but All right, guys. Good stuff.
Hey, underrated is Moose and Cara.
There we go.
There we go.
Man, I love his size. 6'4", close to 200.
Yeah, I think he'll be good. I truly don't think he'll contribute much at all next year, but
Yeah.
he'll be good, I think. I'd like to think so.
And we got two big-bodied receivers in him and Dallas Wilson. And then Vernell Brown and Nashawn Montgomery. Got some variety at the wide receiver spot in this class.
We keep about 4 wide receivers in each class, seems like.
Yeah.
I'd like to see guys like Dice really pay off. Well, all the offensive linemen.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
where my fingers are crossed.
Yeah, that's another one of those we'll see in 3 years positions.
Let's see. He was ranked 167 overall. Trying to remember, is he the highest rated offensive lineman Florida's gotten? And I'm going by 24/7, of course. So, what did I say? He was 167.
Highest we got this season, or highest we've gotten under Napier?
Under Napier, but Westfall was 128. So never mind. I knew it was either him or Westfall.
They're like are they like the only two inside the top 300? I don't feel like we've recruited any good offensive linemen, at least highly ranked offensive linemen, I should say.
Right. Kearney was 147. So two of them. Yeah, two of them higher than Dice.
I'm still waiting to see Kearney and Mula.
At one point, it seemed like we were recruiting for a specific size and weight over numbers. In other words, they wanted, you can't coach size.
Yeah, it did seem that way the first couple seasons.
Yeah.
They went full John Hevesy. They want 800-pound offensive linemen.
But for as much critique and criticism as we gave Sale and the staff on offensive line, I mean, given some time, they have proven that they can kind of develop these guys. They were pretty solid this past season.
I would definitely read Neil Blackman put out a piece on Saturday Down South today, and he talked to opposing SEC defensive coordinators about preparing for Florida's offense. I thought I put it in here earlier today, so you guys should definitely check it out. But it was pretty good. A lot of good insight there.
All right.
Actually, maybe I didn't put it in there. I'll put it in there now so you guys can find it. But it was a really good read. And it wasn't, and not just saying it either, just because he put some quotes in there from the Napier interview.
Shameless plug.
Shameless plug.
Shameless plug, yes. But no, the most interesting part to me was talking to the SEC defensive coordinators. And some of it you expect to hear. So, there you go. It is in the chat now. It was a pretty good read.
They didn't all say, "Oh, it's a nice week off." What was it? The Miami Hurricane.
Oh yeah.
Coach said, all we got to do is prepare for 6 plays.
Yeah. All right, guys. Good stuff. Good stuff. Glad we had another chat in here.
Thanks, Dave.
Yeah, appreciate it, Dave. Go Gators.
Go Gators.
Thanks, Dave. And happy FSU 2-10 day.
Absolutely.
Have a good night.
Y'all too.